Hey, welcome in everybody to Monday Morning Takeaways. I am Cole Pinkston, Auburn Sports recruiting analyst, football analyst, and I'm here alone today. Usually we have Justin here or Bryan Matthews, Justin Hokanson, Bryan Matthews, J.G. Tate sometimes. Maybe even Alan Head might pop in here and there. But today's just me. Couldn't get the game together. I'm gonna run point today. So I'll probably do it my way and talk through some of the things that I feel comfortable talking through, which is after looking at film, I feel like I can maybe break down a few things that we saw from Auburn's win over South Alabama. I think there's a lot of people maybe panicking about that game a little bit. And I can understand why. You look at the score 31-15 and you go, that's not exactly what you want to see in a game like that. But we talked about this many times on all of our different shows. Look, South Alabama is not somebody you really just want to meet up with all the time. It's a good football program. They've been a bowl team a few times in the past few years. They've gone to the transfer portal, done pretty well there. I didn't realize that Steven Johnson was playing for them, former Auburn guy. So they and their quarterback. I thought their quarterback was really good, Davenport, and thought that before the game. Like he looked pretty good on film. He gave Tulane trouble. Not a team you want to just meet up with like that non-conference, especially in state. There's some pride going on there, and they played hard. So give some credit to South Alabama. The good news once again is an Auburn team finds ways to stop them, finds ways to answer the bell when things get a little bit hairy, when the pressure's turned up on them. So that's good. And I thought that they handled themselves well in a lot of different situations that probably they didn't handle well a year ago. And then I look at the matchup and I go, talent takes over. Talent takes over, and that's what Hugh Freeze has been trying to tell us for years. When we don't do our job well, when maybe somebody on the field messes up their job, sometimes that talent corrects that for you. And I think that's been his philosophy. We talked about it, and I don't always agree with that. It's good. It obviously is true. I would rather get it right because when you have talent like they're starting to build at Auburn right now, and you start mixing that with excellent execution, that's how you become elite. That's how you start beating teams that you're not supposed to beat, or at least people think you're not, right? But we have not. I still, Baylor was a good challenge for Auburn, especially against Auburn's defense because Baylor's got a good offense. I've seen them 3 times now. I've been impressed with their offense. Each of those 3 games, it's won them. It won them the game a week ago against SMU. They didn't. They played somebody not as good this week and beat them no problem. But good test out the gate for Auburn. All State, not a big test at all. South Alabama, definitely a bigger test like we thought it might be. Boy, they ran the ball well. South Alabama ran the ball well. Let's see, they had 140 yards rushing, which is, I think, the most that Auburn's given up this year so far. And that's not a huge number, but when they needed to run the football, they were able to at times. Watching film, a couple of things stood out to me, such as I thought the defensive line got pushed around a little bit more than I've seen them get pushed around this season, which is a little bit concerning going into an Oklahoma game. Who I found out after the game in the recruiting lounge, talking to staffers and people there, that Oklahoma actually did almost a wholesale swap on their offensive line. They put in some younger guys. Michael Fasusi is playing left tackle, I believe, for them. So they're sort of trying to figure some things out up front too, but they're winning games like Michigan. I mean, huge win, right? They got confidence off of that. It's going to be a crazy matchup. I'll preview Oklahoma a little bit on this show, and we'll talk even more about that when we get to our Thursday show. And if you like this kind of stuff, don't forget, YouTube's one thing. Go to the site, Auburn Sports, dude. We're doing this all the time. I have film threads running constantly. 7 days a week. There's film threads running where we're talking about this, breaking it down, play-by-play analysis. You got J.G. Tate doing the camera eye where he's breaking down specific schemes and plays, and that's awesome. We brought that over with the merger. So come join us for $1. You get you in for $1 for a week, and then you get into a annual trial. You're with us for the rest of the season. You got signing day. You got all that. Please come join us for that. Some of the grades, J.G. Tate wrote a stat pack article, he calls it, which is awesome. I love it. It's just some of the interesting stats from the game, and he got some grades that are PFF grades. And I am a supporter of PFF. I think PFF does a good job. I question PFF. I think it's fair to do that because they don't really give it analysis with each play. Now, we do that at Auburn Sports. They don't do that at PFF, and it leaves me sometimes scratching my head on some of the grades. But usually it's in the ballpark, and I can appreciate that of a good performance. And the top 5 guys on offense, Eric Singleton with a grade of 81.6. That's pretty high. Jackson Arnold graded out 78.4. Jeremiah Cobb, 70.5. Connor Lew, 67.1. And Cam Coleman, 65.9. Which it's interesting that there are not more offensive linemen because I thought they had a great day. In fact, if I were ranking, I guess, the position units from the Auburn-South Alabama game, I might give the offensive line the highest grade, or number one. That was the best position unit on the field. Pass protection was clean. Hugh Freeze said that. Hugh Freeze was very happy with the pass protection. Because he called them out actually against Ball State, saying they weren't straining. Like I saw some specific plays from that game where I was like, yes, Mason Murphy gets beat on the outside, just kind of lets him go. Like throw your head out there in front of him, lay out, let's make a play here. Be an athlete, right? That's basically what Freeze was saying. You gotta want it. You gotta try. Overall, Freeze told us after the game, told the media that he was real pleased. That's his quote. Real pleased with the offensive output from Auburn. He noted there are some things they can improve on. And he also said that, this is his quote, I was probably a little bit conservative up 2 scores trying to use some clock. But I thought there were good things that happened offensively, particularly early in the game, end quote. I agree with that. Early in the game, that's actually where I'm at in the play script as I'm recording this, which you're watching it Monday morning. The whole thing should be done. Auburn did some different things on offense. I thought started to open up the RPO game a little bit more. What I mean by that is they added more passing options to a couple of plays. Like there was a play where there was an actual read on the end. So there's one read. And then Arnold pulls it. He's on the run. He's got 3 options to throw it to, but the offensive line is blocking a run play. And it was, if you hand it off, it's a run play. It's RPO. That's different than just your typical, I got an option route out there. He can go deep or curl back, hitch back, whatever, and we throw it. That's just one read. This was about 2 or 3 reads. So they're starting to add more into it as Jackson Arnold gets more comfortable. And he looked comfortable to me. I thought Jackson Arnold had a good game. I didn't think, he's not lighting it up. He's not killing it in the passing game. Let's see his stats. He was 13 of 24, 142 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Again, you love to see the no interceptions. Kept it clean. Very, short passing game is where, again, not wanting to let it go on some of the deeper routes, and they didn't do as much of that against South Alabama as they tried to against Ball State. But a little hesitant to let go of the ball. But I will say his protection, back to that again, was fantastic. You can't ask for much better. 2 plays on the very first drive of the game, which we will go over in the film room this week. Mesh plays. Really, really liked the mesh. If you were a Mike Leach fan, he was a big fan of the mesh. He'd run it almost the entire game, but just add different routes to it. Well, Auburn kind of took a page out of that book I saw it against Ball State one time. I saw it twice on the first drive against South Alabama, where it's a mesh route, and then you have Eric Singleton running a different route in the same mesh, if that makes sense. One of them was a 4th and 5 play where they hit Eric Singleton in sort of a spot up route behind the mesh. It was perfectly executed. Offensive line protected well. You love to see that. So offensively, I think Auburn was fine. I don't look at this performance and go, they just can't hang with some of these teams. I mean, they just can't. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as they've got enough offense to be able to win games where they could be maybe a little bit outmatched. I will say I look at some of the games coming up, the stretch you have coming up. Oklahoma is next. After that, at Texas A&M, you saw how they looked against Notre Dame. That was a great game if you didn't see that one. And then you come back home for Georgia, and you saw the Georgia-Tennessee game and how resilient Georgia is and Gunnar Stockton was for them. And they found a way to win. That's Kirby Smart all day long. I give him the credit because I don't think this is the same Georgia team we've seen in every phase of the game. They're just not as good, as maybe as talented, probably not up front. Either way, they got it done, and they can continue to do that because of how well they're coached, combined with the talent they still have. That's a tough 3-game stretch right there. You would love, honestly, I mean, you want Auburn to go undefeated in the stretch, but is that realistic? Probably not. Let's be honest. You'd love for Auburn to find a win somewhere in there. I will say this, of those 3, the one that I thought maybe more favorable for Auburn was Oklahoma, which is the upcoming game. And now I look at it and go, I don't know. Oklahoma's good. John Mateer's good. Their defensive front's better. Much better. I think that might be one of the top 3 defensive fronts in the SEC, Oklahoma's. Maybe one of the top 3 defenses in the SEC. Brent Venables knows what he's doing. He's stacked up talent on that defense. We did the star comparison on that. They're much more talented star-wise out of high school than Auburn is right now. So I think that's a tough matchup. I was looking at the A&M game earlier this season and going, that one, going to A&M on the road, that one's just, I don't like the placement of that game. I feel like A&M will be, to pretty much midseason form at that point. Auburn, where will they be at? That was the question I had before the season. And, I think I might still be asking that question on a few things. I'll say this. This is what I know about Auburn so far. I know that they can run the football. Auburn can run the football. They're comfortable with it. They do a good job with it. And so far, in the first 3 games, from a play calling standpoint, Hugh Freeze, Derek Nix, Ken Austin, whoever's, I know it's Hugh Freeze, but those 3 as a brain trust of the offense are doing a great job of taking what is given, which has been the run game, because evidently everybody's reading the headlines about Auburn's receivers and they're scared to death. Now, South Alabama challenged a little bit more, and you saw very quickly on the first drive of the game, they went ahead and gave Cam Coleman a shot. He makes the most of it. South Alabama starts to ease off a little bit and goes, okay, we got to respect that a little bit more. Well, then you got the run game that opens up, and that's the beauty of the offense. There are things that you can, there's plenty of things you can criticize about the offense, but at the end of the day, if you're able to do that kind of stuff, it's working. That's the plan. You got a good offense. The bread and butter of this offense, though, to go even further into this, is not just the run game, but the quarterback run game. If you noticed against South Alabama, because it was, Auburn had control of that game, but it was a little bit tighter than they wanted, especially than fans wanted. But from a coaching perspective, definitely tighter than you want it to be. You want to be able to dominate that team a little bit better. I will say I think South Alabama's on the edge of being a bowl team. I think they're good enough to do that. Their defensive front's not very good. That's going to be a big problem moving forward. But their schedule gets easier from here. They're not going to see Auburn's in 2 lanes anymore, maybe a couple. I think they're good enough to go and win a lot of games on their schedule. So, having said that, when Auburn got into a bind, or they got into a situation where it was maybe a 4th and short or a 3rd and short, and they had to convert, what did they go back to? Quarterback run game, design quarterback run, jet power read, Q power, Q split zone. I saw one time out of empty. They said, look, this is what we do best. We're in a situation right now where we cannot mess this up. In fact, they got into a situation one time where I thought, well, this would be a good time to trot out one of your kickers, maybe Connor Gibbs, maybe give Towns Magoo another chance. Might even be in Alex McPherson's range. Like you're in the 35 to 40 yard range field goal now. Auburn elected to go for it on 4th and short. They ran a quarterback run. And I knew it was coming, sitting up there in the box with Justin Hokanson, with Bryan Matthews, Caleb Jones, and I pretty much call it. Here's quarterback run. It's not hard to figure out. And you know what? Doesn't matter if you can execute it. You can tell them. You could walk up to the line of scrimmage and go, hey, I got quarterback run coming here. I got Q power coming right at you, 55. If you execute it well, who cares? And Auburn did and has. Auburn has executed that style of offense to a T almost this year so far. I think we're going to see a lot of it against Oklahoma. Here's the problem with Oklahoma. Brent Venables knows everything that Jackson Arnold is about. Everything. And then some. He knows exactly the best way to use him, and he knows how Hugh Freeze is going to use him. The question is, how good is Hugh Freeze, and again, the brain trust of the offense at using that against them and being uncharacteristic and hitting them on some big plays because they are selling out to maybe the quarterback run, which, again, Brent Venables is going to know. Number one, that's what Jackson Arnold's comfortable with the most. Number two, he's watched Auburn's film, and he goes, well, that's what they do best. We need to sell out to that. And I think they will, because he's an aggressive defensive coordinator. Again, we'll get more into the matchup on that as the week goes on, but let's get into the defense a little bit. Defense. That's where I think the biggest concern is for everyone. Probably my biggest concern too, because I thought, and it really is not the secondary for me. It was the interior D line, and they weren't bad by any means. They had a lot of good play. Actually, Auburn had 7 tackles for loss in this game. Kieron Crawford had 2 of those, and which is good. A lot of good plays there, but then you have a few I go back and watch where South Alabama took it to them, knocked them off the ball a little bit, moved them on doubles. That's not going to cut it against an Oklahoma or a Texas A&M. It worked against Baylor. They stopped the run against Baylor. Obviously, Ball State, don't even count that as far as that goes. But you're about to see a whole different level of athlete on the fronts of these SEC teams coming up. That's, again, my question is, how can the interior defensive line hold up for an entire game against Oklahoma? That's one of the biggest concerns that I have leaving this South Alabama game. Then you get into the coverage, and as I'm watching that on film, I'm like, and I've had a bunch of people ask me, like, why is it, what's the problem with the coverage? And, the more I watch it, the less answers I have. I don't know why they're allowing people to be so open, like in the flats. How many times did South Alabama punish them in the flats, and there was just nobody out there, or an out route, something simple. Early in the game, I just broke this one down. Clear out concept. Your 2 outside guys of trips run goes, and your inside, your slot guy runs like an out, and there's nobody out there. And the alignment from the snap was weird. I mean, you got guys like 10 yards off in coverage, cushion. And then I stop and I go, are they really going to do that against Oklahoma, against Texas A&M? I don't think so. That would kind of shock me if you sit back in that zone and just let John Mateer pick you apart. And I don't think that's Durkin's philosophy, so it's weird that we're seeing it. So I question, what exactly, is your goal in these games? Is your goal, are you trying to test your front 7 and tell them, look, this is on you, because we're going to kind of sit back in a zone. They'll hit some of these throws on us probably while we do that. We're going to be less aggressive and just see if you can control the line of scrimmage. Backers, we need to see if you can go and make the run stops and the run fits. So, and then you've got constant rotation going on the defensive side of the ball, which is good. I like that. But it just seems like they're still looking for answers. Who's the starters? Who are the main guys? Who are the guys we need in the game when it gets tight? And I think that they are still searching for that. Kieran Crawford has been the brightest spot of Auburn's defense going back through this. He'll be number one on my power ranking for the defense for both his position and overall. I think he has performed at a really high level. I'm very happy for him that he was able to get a pick, which was a really nice defensive call by DJ Durkin, and I think we'll see that look on that play. If you want to go back and watch it, they actually have a spy on that play for Davenport. It's Xavier Atkins. He gets in the passing lane, makes him rush that throw, so it's a little behind. Ball gets deflected. Crawford is the recipient of a deflected ball, which he was actually being blocked by a receiver, and it was called for a penalty for a pick play. But I really liked that. I think that's more of the style of DJ Durkin than I'm used to from watching a year ago. So that's more like it. That's more like what I think we'll see. And they make a big play when they run that. No coincidence in my mind. Kieran Crawford's a bright spot. Keldrick Falk coming along a little slower than maybe some think, but still making a huge impact. I mean, they're not blocking him easily. They didn't block him in the Baylor game. Ball State and South Alabama are a little bit different, but still making plays, still making his presence known. Amaris Williams, that guy's going to be really, really good. He's still coming along, but he's making some really some plays. Like for an example, they run like a speed option toss play where he's the read man. The reason you use you go at somebody as a read man is so you don't have to block them and they can't make the play. That's the whole point. This dude chases down the play after he's read by the quarterback. It wasn't a bad read either. It was the right read, and he still made the play. That's not supposed to happen. That means you got a freak right there, and that's Amaris Williams. How about Jared Smith? My goodness. I think he's got to be in the game. Notice all four of the guys I just named are edges and ends. All of Rock Bellantoni's guys, those guys are making huge impacts right now. Jared Smith is a pass rush extraordinaire, I think. Now, he's going against South Alabama's offensive line. It's going to be different, but I don't see anybody being able to match his length on the edge and being able to get off blocks as quick as he is. And he's in pursuit and he's moving. He gets a strip sack on Davenport on a huge play, which that drive for South Alabama would have been a demoralizing drive for Auburn. Game's still in hand, but we'd be talking a little bit differently if South Alabama finds a way to finish this drive I'm talking about. Jared Smith erased that on a pass rush down. Darion Smith's in there a lot. These are the guys I think are earning their spots. They're earning their keep a little bit. Jay Hardy, Dallas Walker, I've seen some good things from them. Xavier Atkins continues to stand out to me. Didn't have as good of a game against South Alabama, but was around a lot in the right place. Robert Woodyard struggled a little bit watching film, but Elijah Melendez looked great as I'm going back and watching. So I'm wondering, is there a shift there? Do we see Melendez start to take more snaps away from Woodyard? Secondary is where you start to get a little bit more concerned, I think, with this team. But again, I do think a lot of it is because they've been in more zone than I'm used to seeing maybe from Auburn. And I could be wrong about that, but that's just what it looks like from my perspective right now. Playing, giving a lot of cushion on things. And I really do think Auburn has the athletes in the secondary to be able to man up and press and do what you want in the box because of it, because you got everything manned across the board. Now, where Auburn's having issues, and they had issues against Baylor in this regard, is in the slots. Sylvester Smith had a great game against Ball State, but coverage is a problem for him. Kinsley Lord-Falston, he's a good player. Coverage seems to be a problem. I would put Kay and Lee in that category. I think he's a really, really talented guy. I think he has some good plays, but then every once in a while, coverage is an issue. So I think they're still trying to find answers in those spots specifically. I think they need to probably mess around in that nickel spot, or try to figure out who needs to be out there when you know it's going to be coverage, but you don't always know. It's a gamble if you do it that way. Is a Rayshon Pleasant. I think you give Justin Hokanson credit on that. He's mentioned maybe he's a guy you stick out there in the nickel because he can cover a lot better. Strader. I like Rayon Strader. He's played well. Had one play that wasn't great, and answered back with another good play later in the game. I think they're still trying to figure that out. Eric Winters pops. Eric Winters absolutely stands out. Of course, if you followed us at Auburn Sports, we've been saying that since he was a junior in high school, how good he was going to be, or at least we thought. So far, he's probably the best tackler in the secondary, and he seems to be in the right place all the time. I liked seeing Anquan Fagan start to get some more snaps. Looks like he was around the ball a good bit. I think they gave him a holding call, but I don't think it was on him. I think they may have gotten that wrong because he was coming from safety, and there was somebody else. I think it was Sylvester Smith who actually was the problem there. So they got some problems there because you saw what Baylor did with Michael Trigg. That's what they did. They messed with their nickels and their linebackers that were out in coverage all game long, and safeties that had to walk up on the slots. That's the game they played. That's the game that people will continue to play if Auburn doesn't address that. And it's maybe why that Durkin is not wanting to go man coverage as much. So I don't have all the answers, unfortunately. I do have a lot of questions still about some of those things. I'm not overly concerned, as I think Auburn's going to get blown out of the water because of this. I think these are things that can be fixed fairly simply. This is not like a problem that is going to be glaring, I don't think. I think it's something they can address and get fixed. You'll also have Champ Anthony. I think he'll be back. I wanted to run through the injury report real quick, too, that Caleb Jones put together at Auburn Sports. Damari Austin, Malcolm Simmons, and Rayshon Pleasant, those three guys were not in the game against South Alabama. Could they have played? I think so. We saw them at practice. Malcolm Simmons was in a yellow jersey. I think maybe shoulder stinger injury is what he's dealing with, which is the same as Damari Austin. Could they both play? I think so. I think they were precautionary. So we'll definitely see them in the coming week against Oklahoma. You had a couple of injuries take place in the South Alabama game. Amaris Williams had a shoulder problem. I think he separated it, got it back in. I don't think he played anymore, but he is I think he will be able to go based on what I have heard on that one. We'll see. They're still checking out Jay Crawford. He had some knee-to-knee contact. I don't know his status. That would be a big loss if he's not able to play against Oklahoma, but it sounds like they're going to give it a go. And then Eric Singleton landed on his hip. I think he's okay, and should be able to play against Oklahoma. We'll see. We'll see it practice on Tuesday when we get to go and check things out. And we always have reports from those Tuesday practices, and they've been really popular at our site, Auburn Sports. So just a quick, brief breakdown of the game for your Monday morning takeaways. We'll have more shows coming out as the week goes on. I will have a film room covering a lot of the things that we saw from the South Alabama game. Maybe do a little more Oklahoma preview with that, because I have done a whole film breakdown on the Michigan-Oklahoma game. And we'll have a recruiting show. Myself, Jeffrey Lee, Alan Head. We will have a Friday forecast as well. So lots of shows for you to continue to look at. But if you find yourself wanting more, you know where to go, Auburn Sports. So thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you liked my solo show today. This is not Pink Show, which we do for the board. This is just the Monday takeaways. I wanted to talk through some of the main points, talk a little bit about Oklahoma, how Auburn might match up there. Maybe some other games like looking at Georgia, Tennessee. I think Georgia's really good. Tennessee's really good. I mean, that was a great matchup. LSU still looks to be pretty awesome. I mean, Auburn doesn't meet them, but you never know. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Y'all know how I feel about Vanderbilt. I've been a huge proponent of their style of play. I'm a fan of it, big fan of it. I think it can last in today's football. I think they're almost the kryptonite to a lot of teams in the way they built their rosters. And you better beware when they are on your schedule. That's all I'm saying. South Carolina found that out. I think they have some problems, and they lost Sellers. I'll give them that. But if you're Auburn, Alabama, you're looking at your schedule and you see them on there, you better not overlook that one. And I don't think anybody will. So Vanderbilt's good. Missouri continues to do some good things. Auburn's got to play them. This stretch coming up again: Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Georgia. Not in that order. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia. This is going to be a tough stretch. It's going to be a tough stretch. You don't want Auburn to go 0-3 in that stretch. That would be too much like what we've seen. Auburn's got to find a win in that stretch. I think they have to. At least one. You'd love more, but at least one tells you, look, Auburn's moving up. Auburn's surging. They're getting better. No doubt. You find a win against one of those three teams, you've done something good in my book. And we'll see. Maybe Auburn surprises. Maybe Auburn is looks better than what they've looked like in some of the areas that we talked about today. I think they'll have a much better game plan on defense. That's my expectation anyway. Offense, I feel pretty good about it. They can lean on the quarterback run game. They'll have that in their back pocket all the time. I think they do it well. I think the passing game continues to take a step forward. And Arnold's been fine as far as passing the football. If he has to let it go, I think he will. And I don't think he'll put it in harm's way. And I think that keeps Auburn in every game. I think the talent gives them an edge in some of these games that they didn't have an edge in a year ago. And we'll see what happens. So I'm excited to keep it going and see where Auburn ends up in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, we got all the shows. Join us at the board. For myself, Zach in the back, who helped out today, that is the Monday morning takeaways. We'll catch you next time. See ya.